Well, hello everyone. How you doing? It is I, your pal, J.Ishiro Finney, author and alien in a human suit. And how's my volume doing? A little curious about that. Don't rush to answer because obviously nobody's listening right now, so nobody can answer. But fuck it. I'll really I'll just wait to talk when somebody shows up. How about that? Or I'll mutter to myself, because I'm sure that is what you really come for, the muttering. The muttering and the dirty jokes, which I'm not very good at. Those are more cat's domain. So, how are you all doing tonight? My brain is not working too great right now, so I'm doing something that other than writing. When the writing part of my brain doesn't work, sometimes artwork is a better way to go. Now I could set up a camera and I could show you the thing I'm sculpting, which is yet another lawn troll. But I don't know. This is something I wish I could do more of, and that is I really enjoy Photoshop art, and it's actually something I'm very good at. Um, I don't know. I just for a while I had a bit of a career of it, and then I just stopped getting jobs. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just difficult to work with. Who knows? But anyway, I know a lot of people like to do these. What is it? Drink and draw. So I've got my thermos here. That's I don't know, 50% no calorie Gatorade, orange flavored, and 50% Monster, sugar free. Yeah, I know, no sugar. I know, I'm a wuss. But so that's my life. But yeah, I am just too damn brain dead to do any sort of writing. Still recovering from the holidays, still recovering from the stress of worrying that my psycho parents were going to arrive at my door like they threatened. And that fortunately did not happen, which is a good thing. A very good thing. Um, I don't know. How about you? What have you guys been up to? Give me a topic to talk about, and I will discuss it because I've got nothing to discuss. Um, Frankly, I should probably edit a few of the recent episodes to make them a little more broadcast friendly and put them back up. But I don't know. My brain's not working right now. I will say that I am getting really, really sick of the people talking about Tim Pool. Um, Especially, I'm sick of Tim Pool talking about Tim Pool. I mean, he had Kanye show up. There was a bit of a scene, and now everyone's talking about Alex Jones, and Tim's kind of like whining about the fact that now everyone's more interested in the Alex Jones appearance. Um, my apathy is palpable. Do I find the whole thing funny? Yeah, I kind of do actually. Uh, do I think that this could bode very poorly for I guess the culture wars they call it. That's a really hard call. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of odd things going on surrounding the Kanye thing, and I think the most disturbing part is, yeah, he's saying some crazy shit, but at the same time, when you get the Streisand factor, when people say don't look at something, you know what you mean? Everyone goes and looks at it. Yeah, and especially if you've got someone saying some real nutso stuff like Kanye, he's become what is it, a black Hebrew Israelite or whatever the fuck they're called. So he's saying a lot of that stupid shit. But then he's saying other things that are downright disturbing, like he had claimed that, oh, I'm not sure if it's his lawyer or somebody, basically his people have ties. He said his people have ties to someone in MK Ultra who was threatening to use brainwashing techniques on him. I found out that was true. You dig into the real crazy shit. when he talks about Jews coming from Mars, it's like, no, Kanye, you're just crazy. But when he says, no, this Jewish guy was from MK Ultra and they were threatening to essentially turn me into a drooling moron if I didn't cooperate, he has the fucking receipts from the lawyers. And you look into the guy's history, and he actually was doing psychedelic testing on military and doing psychoactive drug testing on the military, on people in the military unaware of the tests being done. And it was essentially for mind control and shit like that. It's like, well, okay, so that part's true. And I don't know. When one part of the story becomes true, suddenly there is going to be a certain segment of the public that'll say, okay, then it's all true. And we see how that happens. We see where that goes in history. This is the problem of chasing celebrities for clout. Well, I thoroughly agree. I thoroughly, absolutely agree. I mean, every once in a while, you'll get a rare case of a celebrity who, maybe actually researched a role or actually is an expert in something or went to school for something. And they might know what they're talking about. But the vast majority of the time, celebrities are people who basically sold their souls for attention. They crave attention. They want attention. They want the spotlight. They want to be important. They want all eyes on them. And they tend not to be the sharpest nickel, if you know what I mean. I mean, I'm sorry. I really don't understand, for instance, why people give a flying fuck what Sean Penn thinks. The guy's a goddamn idiot. He was endorsing Hugo Chavez, gave Hugo Chavez money. And we're supposed to like this guy? Like, no, Sean, shut the fuck up. Just act. Your job is pretending to be people who are better than you, okay? And yeah, at the end of the day, that is all they are, people who pretend to be somebody else. I always respected the fact, was it Alice Cooper who said, if you're taking political advice from a musician or a celebrity, you're a moron, which is kind of interesting because Alice Cooper actually is fairly well educated and puts his money where his mouth is. He actually does do public outreach work, but he's also not preachy. Okay, so who do we got? Show us the troll. Oh, okay. Do you guys want me to show you the troll? Give me a second. I'll show you the troll, and then I'm going to unplug the camera again, okay? So hey, you know what? I'll play an ad while you guys all wait for me to come back, get the camera plugged in, and share the troll with you. So let's see, what's the longest ad I have? Let's see. Enjoy the Titanium Rain audio drama. Be right back.
Engine stall. Alert. Low altitude warning.
Echo 2. Come in, Echo 2. This is Sky Eye. Please respond. You slipped into a dive, losing altitude fast. Are you there, Echo 2? Do you copy? Echo 2, can you hear me? You've got to pull up.
Alert. Low altitude warning. Emergency adrenaline booster activating. Force adrenal gland stimulation in 3, 2, 1.
What?
Echo 2, do you copy? You need to pull up.
Oh shit. Engine's dead. I'm falling. Come on. Start.
Engine starter engaged.
Back in business.
From the ground is racing up to meet you and there's only seconds left before you're a smoking hole. Gut reaction is to pull up. Hard. Put serious distance between you and below.
Come on. Gently. Gently.
The trick is to fight that urge. Pull too hard, and your engine stalls.
Gently now. Keep her steady.
Pull too hard, and you're dead. The trick is to ease into a climb. Aim low, and miss the ground by just a sliver.
Sweet Jesus, Echo 2, you did it! I was sure we'd lost you!
Copy that. Now where are those hostiles, Sky Eye? I need vectors and headings. Now!
The Draco that thumped you just blew past your position, 205 degrees for 85. Looks like he's moving to circle back on you from the west.
Roger that. Got him on my scope.
AIM-9X air-to-air missiles armed.
Moving to engage.
Solid copy, Echo 2. The second hostile is at Vector...
Sky Eye continues to rasp in my ear. Vectors, closure rates, the second Draco's position. All unnecessary. The moment my prey slides into the bore site, I know exactly where the second MiG is. Cruising at high alpha, riding my 6, angling to drop me with a missile.
Echo 2, that second bandit is on you. Get out of there.
Hear you loud and clear, Sky Eye. I'm still taking the shot.
Target locked.
60 seconds. That's all I've got. 60 seconds to react.
Okay, and that was Titanium Rain. You can get that on Audible right now for, I think, a little less than $7. And as you can hear, it is well worth it. In the meantime, let's see if I can get this camera working, and I'll show you the trolls I've been working on before I get back to my digital painting. Let's see. Turn on the camera. There we go. Handsome guy, aren't I? There we go. So, shaky. Here we go. Shaky cam. This is the latest troll. Yes, that began as one of those lawn gnomes with his hat down to his nose and a beard. You probably can't see it. Here, let me set down the camera. I'm doing a great job here. So anyway, yeah, as you can see, I covered up his nose. His nose was right here, put a tooth there. This was his hat, made the hat longer so it looked more like a weird tendril or something. And then added, well, all the extra stuff. But yes, this used to be one of those stupid lawn gnomes. Now it's a lawn troll. And he's out in the, he was out in the yard. The one I'm currently working on, a little different than the past ones. I don't know if this is going to stand up too well because it's still a work in progress, but as we can see, I've taken one of these. This is a cheap rocket ship ceramic that's a do-it-yourself paint that you can get at Walmart. And I'm not sure if I'm going to make this look like flesh yet, but I'm going to paint an eye here. And let's see. There's his eyeball. So, and I may have tendrils or something draping out of the bottom. So, yeah, that's the current stuff. Sometimes at the end of the evening, Kat and I will put on a movie, and that's what I'll do. Hold on, give me a second. Is there anything else worth showing? I don't know. Can you see that? No, you can't see that. There's a display over there with the Major and Bateau, but I don't think I can get close enough. Oh, let me give it a shot. Yeah, I have no idea how good that looks, but yeah, there's my wall. Starscream, a Valkyrie, another nice shot of the Major. And okay, enough of that. Oh God, why the hell am I getting people advertising porn? Can somebody help me block those fuckers? All right. Elon is dropping dirt about Twitter suppressing. Oh, good. Very good. It's a major fucking crime. David, Jack, but my physical body limits me. If the greatest good is untempered freedom, then surely all that limits me is by definition evil, right? But the greatest good is not untempered freedom. That's not true. The greatest good is freedom with the acceptance of the responsibility that comes with that freedom. Freedom with no responsibility, freedom without the maturity to wield that freedom responsibly is usually the source of a lot of evil. I've gone on this rant many, many times, but one of the things people keep getting wrong about Ayn Rand is they think that she was an excuse, that her philosophy was an excuse to be a selfish, amoral piece of shit. But if you actually read her philosophies, everything's based on the notion you need a strong moral underpinning for any of it to work. Of course, I guess a lot of people overlook that for their own convenience. So anyway, that's what oh God, I would love Studio AG. Or IG. I don't even think they exist anymore, but I would love to have had Studio IG in their prime do a Titanium Rain anime. And in fact, I do know that a copy of Titanium Rain did get into the hands of the head writer for Standalone Complex, but that was as far as it got. The two words the two phrases I got back from him was, "This looks very cool. I wish I could read English so I could read it." So I guess that's a compliment at least. That was sarcasm, Ishii. I was in response to criticizing the attitude I was. Oh, okay. I have no idea what you guys are. Are there any bad shots of the Major? Well, if you go over to DeviantArt, you can find some pretty incredibly awful stuff. Ayn Rand's philosophy assumes that humans will be moral in knowing history, and I don't think that's so. Yeah, her greatest mistake was believing that people in general were rational beings, and that rational people would see the rationality of moral behavior. The missing puzzle piece being, well, what's the underpinning of that morals? What's the moral underpinning holding it together? And that was the part she was lacking. But, again, as I've said many times before, she was a human being. She was very smart, but she wasn't perfect and she didn't get everything right. And I think the biggest mistake people make with a lot of these figures or these cults of personality is treating them like prophets and saints and not fallible humans. You take what they say that is useful and you push aside the rest. This idea that, oh, well, okay, so and so said these things, but they also got this wrong. Well, that's being human. Okay. I deleted my DeviantArt this morning. Well, yeah, it has degenerated. But the only good thing about DeviantArt right now is you can still get good free stock. A lot of people will upload stock images, photographs, and isolate them as pings and give them away free. Also, you can get free fonts that people have created. So for an artist resource, if you know where you're looking, you can get some good stuff. But I love how Mamoru Oshii would take comedies and make them into philosophy films, or that he would take action films and just fill them with subtext that was philosophical. When I was writing Titanium Rain, that was really what I was striving for, was to do something similar. Do you know anything about Murray Rothbard? No, I don't, George. What stuff on ArtStation? I don't know anything about ArtStation. But as I'm sure all of you know, Mamoru Oshii is one of my heroes as far as a creator. And what's kind of funny was back in the 60s, 60s and 70s, all the anime guys, the cool thing to do was to be a communist. Yeah, great guys. Because the Japanese had a problem for a while. And I think they kind of grew out of it. And that was they kept it. They made the mistake that a lot of people did, and they mistook communism for communalism. And as a culture, communalism is very attractive and to the Japanese, and in some ways very relatable. Communism is not communalism, and the moment they figured that out, communism got really unpopular, as we see with both. Akira Kurosawa. They never talk about it, but he took one trip to Russia and said, "This is bullshit," and disavowed communism outright, right then and there. Said, "Fuck this shit." Same thing with Miyazaki, is that he had been a communist, and the moment he actually tried to write a communist utopia called Nausicaa. And in writing it, he figured out, no, this is a broken, corrupt system. And it turned him back towards being more of a traditionalist. Another fun one that I find hilarious is Otomo, who did Akira. Because there is a communist faction in Akira, a lot of these dumb shit anime fan commies think Otomo is a communist. He's a fucking right-wing nationalist. It's like, oh, yeah. If only you fucktards knew. But anyway, what I thought was funny is apparently to this day, Mamoru Oshii will rip on, Miyazaki. He'll rip on Miyazaki for once being a Trotskyite. I watched Akira, and that movie was a disappointment. Well, which one did you watch is my question. Did you watch the 80s translation or the modern one? Because when I saw it in the 80s, I thought it was beautiful, but that it made no goddamn sense. I recently watched the restored and new translated version with a better dubbing. I thought it was great. I was really impressed. Miyazaki's journey of Shuna has a faceless villain that kidnaps people and turns them into green plant growing zombies. Interesting. I am not a huge Miyazaki expert. I like his work, but I wouldn't say I'm obsessed with it. I will say that I do like Nausicaa the best out of all of his works, but that's just me. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. Eloise! Is it okay to call you a friend, Ishii? Shared the stream link on Twitter. Yeah, of course you're a friend, Eloise. That's why we want you on the air sometime. I know that we brought you on once, but there were too many people talking. But yeah, of course you're a friend. You made us that wonderful Discord. You've always been supportive. You're a very cool person. I kind of feel bad that I don't respond enough to you on Twitter when you send me stuff. But no, yeah, you can call me a friend. I consider a lot of you people on here friends, even though I've never met you. Okay. David Jack, I'm a nationalist, however, contrary to what the SJW stereotypes, I'm not a racist. I simply want my country, the United States, to be safe. Well, if you're an American nationalist, that would mean you believe in the values and the precepts of the Constitution and the people that founded this country. I don't see a problem with that. And in a lot of ways, I don't think really nationalism is a bad thing. Certainly, it seems like some countries it's perfectly fine to be a nationalist. It seems that in liberal land, it's okay for African nations to be nationalist. In liberal land, apparently, it's okay for Israel to be a nationalist. But, when it comes to a white nation, you're not allowed to be nationalist. My gripe, Ireland. They've never conquered anyone. They're the native people of that land. They've always been there. That's their homeland. They have every right to have nationalist sympathies. Why not? It's their land. Um, I don't see the problem with that. Okay. I could care less about this country. If this country goes to shit, I'll just leave. Where are you going to go, man? And I think that's part of the problem. How old are you, by the way, Fitz? Fizz Chozo? I mean, essentially, it's the notion of if you were to look at this as a house that we all share, if you don't care about it being burnt to the ground, you're not really the kind of person we'd want as a roommate. No offense. Yeah, Israel is an ethno state. Why is it okay? Why is it wrong for Ireland to be an ethno state? Why is it wrong for a lot of these Baltic nations to want an ethno state? I mean, if they've been on that land forever, and in Israel's case, they haven't been on that land forever. In fact, they hadn't been on that land for what, 2,000 years? What's the issue? I mean, the United States is a very interesting case because we weren't founded necessarily on an ethnicity. I mean, granted, we're largely, Anglo and Celt, but we were founded more on a notion of what the founding fathers had written into the Constitution. And as far as I'm concerned, that's American nationalism, is those, standing behind the founding fathers' vision. And I don't mean the revised one that Lincoln did. I mean the original fucking vision of the founding fathers. Okay. Picked up Ghost Song, OST, original amazing. A sci-fi metro. Oh, really? Really? I love those games. I have to check that out, Fiona. But okay, let's see. Oh, and you're pimping my work. Thank you very much. Bring back the article. Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know. I know we created this legend of Lincoln as this great unifier, even though he was actually kind of a tyrant. And I understand why. And as far as a myth, the idea of Lincoln, I can understand the necessity of it. But really, I think a lot of what Lincoln did to the United States was more damaging than good. I mean, we all know that he really didn't give a flying fuck about the slaves. I mean, it was all about economic warfare with the South. And we also know that Jefferson and a number of the other founding fathers had wanted slavery to be illegal from the start because, England had already done it. And we probably would have gotten there anyway. But I don't know. I feel like I'd need a few other voices in the room to really, really address that subject. But yeah. Lincoln's been way romanticized. The guy was a tyrant. And not the good kind like Julius Caesar. Not the good kind like Caesar. I know that, Razorfist has a real hatred for Caesar. I don't really see the issue. I mean, I guess there can be an argument to be made that he dismantled the Senate or weakened the Senate, but the Senate was the problem at the time. I mean, the Senate were bunch of corrupt, cowardly old women, as Caesar called them, that had pretty much destroyed the freemen and the working class of the time, turned the streets into lawless hellholes, had been screwing everyone. It was, for better or worse, he and Augustus provided Rome with a golden age for a while there. Yeah, it didn't last. What does? Which Caesar, Julius or Octavian? Oh, you mean Octavian as in Augustus, right? No, I think Julius and Augustus. Actually, believe it or not, I think Augustus was a hell of a lot better than Julian, but I don't think Augustus could have done what Julian did or Julius did. All right. Caesar was a fake tyrant. Tyrants rule for themselves. Legitimate authority serves the people. The Senate of Rome was tyrannical, which was why the Senate claimed opposing them was inherently... Yeah, exactly. Sound familiar? Sounds a lot like what we got right now. Oh, I'm not sure. I was a little surprised to find out when Razorfist had a real hatred of Julius. It's like, you side with the Senate in that scenario? They had pretty much they had basically turned the entire population into serfs, and had sold Rome out to foreign powers. Sound familiar? Hey, Mark. So anyway, do you guys have any subject you want me to talk about? Anything you think's interesting? But Jorn says, "Hi Ishii, Israel, Palestinian have some Jewish DNA, yet they're treated as third-class citizens." You know, my opinion on the Israel-Palestinian argument is, it's been going on for a very, very long time, and to think that any of us could come in and solve it in a few years is utterly ridiculous. There's something about those people and those two peoples love hating each other. I'm going to be blunt. I think they like hating each other, and I don't think there's a damn thing we can do about it. That they're going to be fighting till the end of time, and frankly, the best thing we can do is steer clear of it and let them just have their blood feud. And what's the line? Not my monkey, not my circus, or something. Yeah, that's my feeling exactly on Israel. And we can't even be blamed for Israel. That was England's fault. We didn't do that. I'm sick of the U.S. being blamed for that. That is thoroughly England's fault. American traditions are different from the rest of Europe, and them trying to dictate what is right and wrong into us is annoying. Europe is so morally fucking bankrupt. They are so goddamn bankrupt. I have to agree with you. Every time I hear some European moralizing to Americans, it's like, go blow yourself. Seriously. As if Europe's some sort of fucking utopia. It's just... And maybe this isn't a popular opinion, but frankly, if it comes to a third world war in Europe, if Europe decides they need another war, let them fight it. We already pulled their asses out of 2 wars. Let them fight their own goddamn wars for a change. Well, we can sit this one out. Let them, let their boys die. All right. I think Razorfist likes Cicero more than the Senate. Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Marv says, I used to really be pro-Israel, but have cooled down on that quite a bit. Well, I mean, why are we giving them so much money? For one thing, why is so much of my tax dollars going to Israel? Israel is rich enough as it is. And frankly, if Israel is their own nation, they should stand on their own 2 goddamn feet and not have to have handouts from the rest of the world. Frankly, in my opinion, it's not the homeland of the Jews until the Jews are actually supporting themselves there, rather than needing, I don't know, US dollars and military support and help from the EU and blah, 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 blah. You fuckers stand on your own 2 feet, and then I'll believe that's actually your land. Because as far as I'm concerned, right now, it's just a place for us to set bases down in the Middle East. And that's all that it is it's a satellite of the United States that seems to be reaming money out of us. So a bad agreement all the way around. Okay. Yeah, I'm probably just making all sorts of friends right now with my opinions. The Middle East as a whole is going to hell, ironically. When has it not been going to hell? That part of the world's been cutting each other's heads off since the beginning of time. I mean, and no, I don't consider Persia the Middle East. Persia's Persia. There was a time when Persia was the peak of civilization. But the Middle East is just a great big fucking shit show, and it's always been a shit show. Although I do think it's a damn crying shame that the Iranian people can't rise up and chuck their Ayatollah and their religious government out, because at heart, they're really not a Muslim nation. Roshi Strider. As for America, does constitutional nationalism work, though? In the long run, it seems people have a natural tendency to revert to tribal politics, especially when the going gets tough. As well, how would I put this? As someone who grew up in the 80s and 90s, I saw those tribal barriers fall apart and fall to pieces and start to disintegrate. And I hate to say it, but there were just certain people and certain populations in this nation that just loved being told over and over again, no, you're a victim. Your problems are these people's fault. And they fell for it. And really what it came down to is there was a time when national unity and race relations were better than, well, all of history. And the Democrats then suddenly realized, if this keeps up, we're never going to win elections. And the real sad part is the American experiment was working, and the Democrats were very, very good at convincing certain populations, no, you've got to hate the white people. But I'm being blunt, very, very blunt. Anything that went wrong in your life, white people. And the Democrats, largely Obama was a very big part of this, have spent, since the late 90s, they have worked long and hard to drive a wedge and start separating us as a nation. I mean, that notion did not exist for a very long time. The America we're living in now that's so fragmented and divided, no, this is not how it always was. Do people revert to their natural tendencies of tribal policies, tribal politics? I guess yes and no. I mean, I've seen it work, and I've also seen people get suckered into tribalism, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, I think one of the reasons the Black community was such an easy mark for the Democrats is because Black Americans in general have a very troubled identity, and that's easy to prey upon. As you notice, that hasn't worked out too well with other peoples. For instance, Latinos, although for the longest time Latinos voted for Democrats, Latinos in general have a very strong identity, a cultural identity. And they're beginning to abandon the Democrats, realizing, hey, these people aren't our friends. Same thing with Asians. There's always been the fact that there's been a large percentage of Asians that are conservative, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of the identity politics didn't work too well. The funny thing is there was the episode of All in the Family where Archie Bunker was Meathead was ripping on Archie for being a racist, and he says, "Oh, I'm not a racist. This is America. We live in a great big melting pot. We all live together." And he says, "What do you mean? You're always do you see any black people in this neighborhood, Archie?" Goes, "No, no, we all live together. I mean, the black neighborhood's over there, the Irish or the Mick neighborhood's over there, the Chinese neighborhood's over there." And in an ironic sort of way, even though those neighborhoods were separate, we all interacted. It wasn't an issue. And strangely, Archie was right. And of course, the fact that Meathead was being shown as the hero explains everything that was wrong with that identity politics viewpoint. Democrats have been corrupting elections since forever. Watch Jocko Wilkinson's podcast. Had a Korean vet talking about it. Yeah. When the Kennedy campaign, Kennedy was always in with the mob. Hey, fair maiden, how you doing? I miss you. I lost respect for vets when they laughed about it and his involvement. Jocko. I think I'm missing some context there, but I don't know. We've got a large population of people right now just clamoring to be told nothing's their fault, that they were meant for greatness, and for whatever reason, somebody else robbed them of it. And the problem is, why do certain people fall for it? Now, maybe it's because we have a whole generation of young people, or, well, they're not young anymore, that were sheltered and coddled and raised in a specific kind of environment. The Barney generation, that might have something to do with it. I honestly can't say for sure. I have to think about that, why it is that while in the 90s, there was definitely some tribalism, but by and large, it didn't rule us. Why it was that we were really on that point in which racism almost didn't matter. Race didn't matter. And all it took was Ferguson and a black president to undo all of that. But I do think a part of it, and maybe Wolf can clear this up for me, because I can't speak from authority, but it could be partially that, yes, the black community, black Americans, have always had a troubled identity because it's forever linked to slavery. You don't really have a heritage that you can just say, okay, I'm this. I mean, I'm what? I'm a yellow Irishman. So what? I feel some attachment to both, but it doesn't rule me, and it's definitely not. It's who I am. On the other hand, if you were to ask me what I am, I'd say I'm a writer. So I don't know. People clamoring to wipe the slate clean so they can mess up lives again. Some looking to seek absolute, seek an absolute will never come. Yeah. Kanye West says crazy stuff, but he should still have free speech, only because he's only saying words, not threatening violence, and he's not inciting violence. But I will tell you this: if the system keeps acting as it does, and if institutions that seem to be ran largely by Jewish people continue to censor Kanye and take underhanded action against Kanye, like trying to get rid of his bank account and have him thrown into a mental asylum, that will convince other people that violence might need to happen, and that is not a good path to go down. I could make allusions to a certain dictator in Germany that said a lot of things, some that were true and some that weren't, and that Well, let's just say a lot of Jewish institutions took action to shut him down, and it only made him stronger and only convinced the German people he was right. So we'll leave it at that. And the Black community and the Jewish community have always had a very, very tenuous relationship. Um, I mean, on the one end, there seems to be this kind of obsession with Black culture with it, among Jewish culture, and I'm not sure why. That's always been there. Um, for instance, I had a friend in college who was from New York, Jewish, just obsessed with everything Black. But at the same time, there's tension because traditionally, athletes, musicians, and actors, if they were getting screwed, the person screwing them was either a Jewish agent or a coach or a lawyer. And in New York specifically, you had Democrats and Jewish groups complaining about these awful slums, but yet it was largely Jews owning the slums. They were the slum lords. Hence, there was a lot of tension. And I don't know, if they're not careful, this is a powder keg that could go off in their faces in the worst possible way. In the worst possible way. I mean, they may think they're just fucking with Kanye right now, but a large portion of the Black community are going to take it personally and say, hey, that's me they're doing it to. And that seems to be something specific to, I guess, I don't know. Certain cultures are like that. I mean, like, when something happens to a white guy, generally, most white people don't look at him and say, oh, well, that could be me. They're thinking, well, that guy was a dumbass, or that guy made some really dumb moves. But it does seem to me, and if I'm talking out of my ass, if I'm saying something stupid and racist, call me out on it, please. It does seem that on that same note, in the Black community, if something's done to a Black guy that's perceived as a wrong, often the Black community will say, that's me. They're doing it to me. Okay, let's see. Let's see some of your comments. You racist fuck, go to hell. How dare you? You're worse than Hitler. I'm sorry. Glad you didn't take the black-ish. Huh? You mean the black pill? God damn it. I'm too out of it. I'm not making connections here. Hey, by the way, Wolf, the side of me, the half of me that's Irish, it is black Irish, you know. And if you know what that means, you'll probably find it pretty funny. Had a friend once, an Italian kid who very, very, I don't know, he was very innocent and very naive and took things very, very literally. He was just one of those people. And I had mentioned, well, my lineage, the Irish side of the family is black Irish. And he said, I didn't know there were any black Irish people. And I had to explain to him, no, it means that, they were the Spanish Armada that washed up on the shore. And it means that they're Irish and Spaniard, not... anyway, I'm sure you all know that. Okay, let's see. My best friend growing up were all brown and yellow. We knocked everybody for their origins, and we didn't care. Exactly. That was my experience in the 80s and 90s, especially in the 90s. No one gave a fuck. Really, really thought this race crap would be over. And it seemed in the aughts for a while there, it was over. It really seems to have been reignited specifically and very diligently, not diligent, deliberately by the Obama administration and the DNC. I mean, I've said it once, I'll say it again. The worst thing that could possibly ever happen to the Democratic Party is for Americans to get along. I mean, where would they be if they couldn't cry racism or scream white man or scream sexism? By the way, Asian women make just as much as white men these days. Just a little factoid for you. Some people say they have a problem with slavery, but their problem is they're not the master. It all ends when payback and perpetuation stops. Period. Yeah, exactly. Music is filling me with positive and strong energy. Well, that's good, Wolf. So, what kind of Christmas music are you listening to? Hitman Wanderer. I had a guy at work tell me Irish American tell me I'm Irish American and should care about my people, but I told him I'm American and my home is the US and not Ireland or any part of Europe. Yeah, and Irish American is not the same as Ireland. Irish Americans have their own traditions, their own things that they brought with them when they came over here, and that are uniquely Irish, but in this country specifically, just like Mexican Americans are not Mexicans. They really, really aren't. In fact, you put a regular, a real Mexican American, not some illegal, next to somebody from Mexico, no, it's like they're nothing in common. I mean, keep in mind, when you come to this country, it wasn't until recently that we had the Democrats go so hardcore on don't integrate. I mean, there was that whole point in which we were all supposed to try and, we're Americans first and everything else second. Well, except maybe Christian. I can understand if you're Christian first and American second, but I'm speaking as an alien with no religion. The idea was you're an American first and whatever you were else second. And that was just something you brought to the table, you know? And I liked that. And somewhere along the line, the Democrats have been able to convince a lot of people that's bad. This whole idea that, black kids need their own classroom separate from whites. It's like, oh, wait. That sounds kind of familiar. I think that happened. Okay. I've been thinking, Wolf says, I've been thinking that lately too, that they want to be slavers that finally freed the slaves. Wolf, I should bring you on more to talk about this stuff, but I will say to keep up with the Wolf, I usually have to chug at least a Monster or two or a pot of coffee because you are a very high intensity individual. Your wife must love it. Oh, you mean black pill? Nah, I'm not going to go black pill. I'll get very, very depressed, but I'm not black pill. Okay. In most white culture, we are seen as individuals and not hive minds as other cultures. So a dumbass is just a dumbass and not an extension of the whole. Yeah, and I've noticed that. And with maybe the exception of Germany, in general, that does seem to be kind of a constant in white cultures. And I mean, you all the way from Finland to Ireland to the Baltic region to Russia. That seems to be kind of a norm. That just because someone else is a dumbass doesn't mean you're a dumb. That it reflects on you. Wakanda forever about race war. Blacks and Mexicans. Yeah. That's the thing is that's really kind of creepy about Wakanda forever is that fight's going to pop off. The tension between Black Americans and Mexican Americans, not Mexican Americans. I take that back. But between Black Americans and illegal immigrants from Mexico and Central America is a conflict brewing, and it's gonna get ugly because to a degree, a lot of multi-generational Mexican American families, the ones who came here during the early 20th century or the late 19th century. Most of them are either working class or even middle class now. And so often these low-income jobs, it's the illegals are putting black people out of work. And that's a big problem. That, and you also then have the MS-13 and the drug lords and, the turf wars going on the streets. John Ivan Taro, which is a cool name. By the way, me, my friend David, Jack, and Leon recently purchased sniper rifles for self-defense. The far left want a war. We Americans will give them a fucking war. Yeah, I thoroughly agree with you. If it comes to that, it comes to that. Glad you got sniper rifles. Get very good with them. Although, don't neglect the concealable pistol. You want a sidearm. Not sure they'll rise up for Kanye. Who the fuck knows? It's hard to tell at this point. So many weird things have fucking happened. People have gotten pull that I would never imagine would ever get pull. Mostly from my roots. The media is treating Kanye as if he were the first black person that was racist, and that if he was introducing it to other people. Yeah, exactly. Underworld Dream. I'm so much of a mutt. Almost everybody is my people. That's why I'm so pro-American. Yeah, well, exactly. We're everybody. That is one of the cool things about the United States. You're talking to a yellow Irishman. Pretty cool, huh? And there is, then you keep hearing these, oh, well, the white population's shrinking. You notice they never count mixed race in there. They never ask someone. It's like suddenly if you've gotten a little bit of something else in that white blood, you're out of the club. Oh, don't worry, you're innocent now. We don't have to hate you because you got a little brown in you. Have you noticed that? Nobody ever actually asks the people themselves what they think of themselves. The ghost of Jim Crow has got to go. I was growing up in the aughts. Remember racism being the thing of the past. Yeah, exactly, Mark. I believe, though, it was reignited as far as Trayvon Martin. That was where I believe the seeds were planted. But those seeds didn't have to be planted. It could have just been another random incident where a Mexican dude shot a black dude, but it wasn't painted that way. We had the president of the United States claim Trayvon Martin could have been his son and said that he was shot by a white guy. Nobody talks about all the dead black people getting shot, ending up in Chicago every night. But that was national news. And then again, there was Ferguson as well. I mean, the Obama administration went out of their way to wreck race relations. And it just depresses the shit out of me that so many black people fell for it. It's like, you guys should know better. We've been down that path. Don't get suckered again. Why are you being suckered? This is what, L Sharpton all over again. Oh, she loves my energy, wink, wink. I thought she liked your Mastiff blood. Black Irish, you might be Mo. Sorry. Should I say potato? No, I don't want to get banned. You guys can say it in the chat for me. By the way, if there has to be a gay hero, they should be one, an original character, and two, should not be walking, boo-hoo, I'm so oppressed sob story. Yeah, exactly. Trenton, just to take a tangent, if I get a physical copy of Hellathon, it's supposed to have your cover on it, right? Should. Yeah, definitely it should. I hope so. Because, yeah, I sent it his way. The race war starts now. Wolf says, and that's why blacks hate mechs for so long. Mostly because we assume most were illegal. You can tell an illegal from a Mexican American. I mean, seriously. Mexican Americans seem to come in 3 brands. One, they look like your typical working class American, blue collar. 2, they have ranchera hats and have their own kind of, you know what I'm talking about. They listen to the ranchera music. They have the boots and the cowboy hat. Or 3, they have a mullet and they listen to Megadeth. Black Irish, wonder if you have Meglungian in you as well, because I apparently have Black Irish in me I'll have to look into that. And Eloise says, I hope I'm in New Hampshire by 2030. I get a sense things will pop off by then, like the World Economic. Yeah, but they fuck up a lot. Have you noticed that? They none of their predictions have ever come right. Most of their plans are very, very poorly executed. So I'm not saying they won't pull shit off, and I'm not saying that they won't make things bad. But at the same time, they're not quite the masterminds they're portrayed as. I mean, seriously, if you pay close attention to a lot of what they do, they fuck up a lot. That, and they also are there's a lot of infighting too. So, yeah, I mean, no matter what, it probably means it would suck for us, but they aren't the all-powerful, all-seeing Illuminati they're portrayed as. On the other hand, I am finding something very, very interesting going on. And that is Jordan Peterson. I'm seeing this more and more. I find this fascinating. A number of high-profile intellectuals and political types that would have never dared say it before, including Jordan Peterson, are now just outright saying the WEF are Luciferians. That I find interesting. I find that extremely interesting that they're just flat out calling it Luciferian or even satanic. And, just a year ago, you would have been called a nut job to make that accusation. But for high profile people to just come out and say it now, I find that maybe the mask is slipping a little too quickly for these fuckbags. Okay. Zim was described as white Hispanic. You could see a shitstorm brewing with that. Zim. Which Zim? Well, Eloise, regardless of what happens, store up water, beans, and rice. They last forever. I got a communist that works at job. That dude got a middle schooler understanding of economics, politics, morality. Communists don't have a concept of morality. Damn funny to see him talked into circles. One of the things I always found fascinating about the boomers and the hippies was that they were always bitching about the materialism of American culture, the materialism of their parents, and that it was all about greed and having things, and there's more to life than money and owning things. And they kept going on about spiritual enlightenment. But then what are they? They're all fucking communists, which is the most materialistic religion ever to exist. Well, okay, maybe Judaism's more materialistic, but you can argue that one. But communism is absolute materialism, and yet they all fell for it. I may not be Christian, but I can flat out say material possessions are not priority one among Christians. Um, things like morality and your eternal soul and um, what is it? The spirit of the word are far more important than having things. Yeah, were you talking about Zim the alien or Zim the sergeant from Starship Troopers? Hey, Ginger, what's going on? Um, I don't have a mullet though. Oh man, it's interesting. I don't know what it is, but have you ever noticed how many Mexican Americans are really into death metal? And it's either Megadeth or death metal. Either it's thrash metal or death metal. Well, shit. What's his name? Dino from Fear Factory is from LA. He's Mexican American. Thomas Sowell is absolutely essential reading for everyone. Agreed. He explained the laser accuracy how blacks were manipulated and brainwashed into abandoning their active values, integrity, and perseverance. Yeah, I agree with that thoroughly, BGC. My grandma and grandpa, greatest generation, same here, wouldn't allow racism in our home. Grandpa said it was like CO. He said his CO said it like his CO said when he was in the army. We are all equally worthless. um, the thing is, even though it wasn't really my grandfather, the man I was told was my grandfather. You guys all know I'm a bastard. Was greatest generation, and he was a very interesting man because he was a little different than yours, Fair Maiden. Uh, he uh, he said lots of incredibly racist stuff. He kind of reveled in saying the most offensively racist shit he could. And and it would get everyone upset. And he says, "Oh, that's so racist. You can't say that. That's horrible. Why would you say that?" And the thing is one day I kind of figured it out. Now, he he'd spent his life dealing with lots of real racism. Yeah, I imagine that. Um, and it hit me one day that the reason he would joke so much about racism and use racist terms, like he was always calling my dad a drunk Mick or oh a Patty. He liked calling my dad a Mick the most. That was his favorite. Um, is it occurred to me one day what it was it was showing it didn't mean anything. They were just words. It didn't hurt him. It didn't hurt anybody, and it took power away from it. And once I figured that out, it was like it made perfect sense to me why he was always saying the most ridiculously racist things. I think the funniest one ever was my sister, Hollywood person that she is, married a Jewish lawyer and very successful one at that, entertainment lawyer. And before they're married, she's introducing her husband to be to the family. My grandfather sits down next to him, puts his arm around him, and he's just talking. I like you. You're a good guy. You know what? You can be part of the family. You know what? You can be my kike shyster lawyer. I ever get in trouble with the law, I know which kike shyster to turn to, and it's gonna be you because you're a good guy. I like you. I shit you not. He really did that. And my sister turned bright red. It was very amusing. But fortunately, I think Jeff got it too. I don't think Jeff was bothered by it. Well, at least I hope. No, he wasn't because he was laughing his ass off. Hey, Acid Trip, what if I told you I just saw a Mexican samurai in an indie comic who also had a pair of chupacabras? Or A pair of attack. What comic's this? That sounds cool. Wolf. Blacks had that idea about the N-word, but the flaw is nobody else is allowed to say it. No power in it, rolls eyes. My grandfather never actually said that. He said some other things. I wonder if it'll get me in trouble on YouTube if I say these words. They're so freaking old. They probably don't even mean anything anymore. Um, my grandfather's word of choice for black people was jigaboo. I don't even know if any of you have ever heard that one. But yeah. And yeah, my extended family would just throw these shit fits. Oh my God, I can't believe you said that. And of course, that was the reaction he wanted. Okay. So does jigaboo actually mean anything anymore? So your Gramps was doing a Mel Brooks using racism humorously to defang real racism. Yes, exactly. That's what it was. I'm certain that's what it was. And he was not a dumb guy. I mean, he had a part in the Apollo Moon program. I mean, it was a small part. His contribution was that he sat in a testing facility for hours on end, watching the pressure levels on the engines to make sure they wouldn't blow up on the launch pad. But still part of the Apollo program. I always thought that was really cool. Also worked on Sabre jets during the Korean War. I heard Jigaboo and Moon Cricket. They sound like Pokemon and superheroes, respect. Moon Cricket, that's a new one. I've never heard of Moon Cricket. I've heard Smoke and Shine Box, but that's only because I read noir novels from the 40s. And by the way, did you know that in the 40s, there were black establishments that wouldn't serve white people? Yeah, that actually existed. Was that bad, or what would we think of that these days? My granddad, was once invited to a Klan meeting back in the day, and he never went back, came home and said that they were the most ignorant bunch of morons ever met. He was disgusted. Well, yeah, the Klan is an interesting one, and I think that's another problem is people really don't understand the Klan and what they are and what they were. There were two Ku Klux Klans, and I'm surprised, well, maybe I shouldn't be, that most people don't know that there were actually two of them. And that the original Klan was an outgrowth of, I believe, a fraternity, and that would pull these pranks of cross burnings and dressing up like ghosts. And they had decided it would be fun to do that to the freed slaves. And that's how that started. And then after a time, I forget why, but it just either it fell out of fashion or they just stopped doing it. And then they disappeared for a very long time. But they were primarily wealthy men. And apparently Ku Klux Klan has some links to an old British fraternity, from what I understand. Then I believe it was in the 20s. There was a resurgence, or was it the 30s, in which immigrants were showing up, and this includes Irish people, and they felt that they were a threat to their jobs. And so the Klan did not like Irishmen, Jews, freed slaves, or black people, or any immigrant who threatened their jobs. And that version of the Klan was working class. And that is much closer to what we think of as in the modern conception of the Klan. But the other thing that we don't realize is that second incarnation of the Klan was very closely tied to the labor movement and that a lot of people joined because of the labor movement and did have ties to socialism. What a shock. Moon cricket. That's incredible. I heard my granddad use jigaboo a few times in jokes, or saying that slipped out with them, but never heard anything anywhere else. And stop dodging the topic you bring up. Why is idealism such a problem? Oh, that's not to me. I thought you were yelling at me. Hmm. Ironically, back in the 20s, most of Hollywood were freaked out by KKK group, deciding group, the Black Legion, then the KKK themselves. Don't know about that part. Sounds like a very interesting subject. Sorry about the silence. It's just me. My grandpa used the term colored fellow up until he died. Never meant any. Why would colored fellow be disrespectful? I see. That's another problem that keeps coming up. Is I remember in the 70s, and granted, I was a very, very small child. Okay, this is before kindergarten, so I was a little kid. I remember at a time when the preferred term was Negro. And then suddenly that became a horrible word. And then it was a new word that had to be used. And then after a while, that word was a horrible word and a new word had to be used. You know, coloreds was once an okay word, then it wasn't. And now where were we back? We're back to colored people, colored peoples. Of course, that's too inclusive because it includes Asians. So now it's black and brown people. But yeah, I don't really see any of the comments, any of them, if it's not meant in disrespect. That's really what should matter, okay? Like I was saying the other night, you could call me a potato nig. We'll stop there. And if it wasn't meant in malice, I'd be fine with it. I'd probably laugh my ass off. It's the intent, not the word. And the fact that somehow people have lost sight of that or can't understand the difference between intent and the word itself. It's like, don't say Voldemort, he might appear. Peterson and other elites that are calling Peterson and other intellectuals that are calling the elite satanic are correct. I've gone down the rabbit hole of recent incidents. It's dark stuff. Yeah, it is. I have too. And they keep talking about, oh, there's no occult crap going on in Hollywood. What about Nexium? I mean, that was recent. What about Jimmy Savile? What about Scientology? There's a long list of Satanism and bizarre occult shit going on in Hollywood and among politicians too. And I'm glad that we've got some mainstream voices that now have the guts to just flat out say it, say, no, they're Satanists. Done. And why should we be surprised? We've got people that worship God. We've got people who believe in the light side. It would only make sense that there would be sick fucks out there that would side with evil. Plenty of serial killers have flat out said they do. Yes, there's certainly a cabal and is Luciferian. It's past time we take down the beast system. Well, I don't think they're going to fare too well as the mask continues to slip off. They seem to have forgotten the underlying principle of things like that, which is you have to remain secret to operate. Once everyone knows you exist, it doesn't last too long. But isn't that always the mistake they make? Yep, yeah, the Night Stalker. I remember the Night Stalker. Oh, you're still fighting with Chozo. Yeah, I haven't followed what Chozo's saying, Wolf, so I have no idea what's going on. Asians should be considered colored. No, no, no. We're too successful, dude. We're honorary Aryans. Don't you know that? They got skin for it, and they got a vibrant culture. Hell, the only thing they don't got has got colored is the manga. Well, the interesting thing is you look at the various peoples of Asia, and by the way, Japan does not consider itself part of Asia, and skin tones, you get people that are paler than gingers in some of those countries, and you get people that are darker than light-skinned blacks in some of those countries. I mean, have you ever seen some really dark Vietnamese? I mean, darker than Eddie Murphy. But does it really matter? And that is the weird thing, is it's coming down to color. It's being reduced down to simple skin color. How it is that people are falling for this shit is mind-numbing. You know, you're more than a skin color. You're more than you're the sum of your parts. You know. Serial killers are not, as we've been told. Excellent channel called Lowfield and Love, based on the works of Dave McGowan. Solid research and proofs. Huh. Yeah, there seems to be some sort of heated battle going on between Chozo, Fizz Chozo, Wolf, Dark Stranger, and maybe a few other of you. What can somebody give me a short version of what the fuck's going on in my chat? I mean, I'm not saying I'll get involved. I'm just a little curious what the hell's going on. And give me another topic. Yes. I love you because you're pro-gestalt, Ishii. Why, thank you. Thank you very much. I try. So anyway, yeah, give me another topic. I'm curious. I don't want this conversation to continue. I don't even know what the conversation is, man. I just noticed you guys are duking it out. Okay, read your last post. All right, Draco Nightmare. From my own experience, black people like to really define themselves by their skin color. It's part of their identity, which is why I guess they fall for it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe here, I'll say something horribly racist. Maybe there's a predisposition to tribalism. Seriously. Because it seems that a number of white cultures don't have a predisposition to that kind of tribalism. I would say that lots of Asians have a predisposition to tribalism, and I'll say that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Chinese people are good at math. That's not racist to say. I find Satanism is at least a bit of a misnomer. Ever heard of the... I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Quillapa? No, I have no idea what you're talking about. Shinri, yeah. What's your favorite cult to study? Mine's Jonestown, Solar Temple, Shinriko, and Scientology. Shinriko is a pretty interesting one, though. I mean, it's hard to kind of top Scientology. The Solar Temple was the one in Canada, if I recall. Were they also the ones that cut their nuts off and thought they were going to get a ride on the comet down in San Diego? Or were they called something else? People of color, but whites don't have color. What are we, invisible? We got green eyes, red hair. Yeah, you know, if you notice the spectrum of what's considered white, I mean, you've got like from paper white gingers to ice white Finlanders to what's an appropriate term? Swarthy Italians. I mean, what is white really? I mean, and I've just mentioned three peoples that have vastly different cultures. I can't believe Black Panther didn't something different. I can't believe Black Panther didn't something different for once. Instead of nonstop Black pride, it was about Mexican people needing to fight the real problem: Black women. That is such a pile of disco biscuits on its own to address, because the whole Black woman subject in itself is complicated. I know that there's a lot of back and forth between Black men and Black women. There's some sort of struggle going on. I know that leftists and NPR liberals have this kind of almost deification of Black women. Hollywood has a certain image of Black women. It does seem to be a favorite obsession of the day, doesn't it? Quilpoth, essentially the inverse of Kabbalah. Ah, okay. And we know Kabbalah is a big thing in Hollywood. Draco Nightmare. Same being told I sound white because by Black kids. Being bullied by Black kids tends to eliminate racial solidarity. Well, I will tell you my story that I've told before, and that was when you knew a kid who was Black who either played D&D or was into punk rock or listened to goth and was open about it, that motherfucker could fight because he had to. That was somebody who took a lot of shit, had to learn how to fight quick, because in his own neighborhood he got his ass beat if he didn't know how to fight. I mean, that is one thing I found, was that a lot of Black communities when I was younger did not take well to Black kids who didn't play into the stereotype, to put it mildly. Well, sorry you have to dip out, fair maiden, but it was good having you here. Oh, you too, Draco. I get the sense that that's a more common phenomena than anyone would really like to admit. How many young Black people are probably beaten into acting a certain way for fear of, I want to be able to survive in my neighborhood. That true about Asian tribal. My brother worked for various Asian activists, and organizations. Even in California, he hears a lot of racist things and backstabbing politics against Asians by Asians. Oh, yeah. Well, here's the thing that the left and liberals don't understand about Asia. They all fucking hate each other. This idea that there's some united Asia, my ass. They all fucking hate each other. And the only thing that really unites Asia is all of Asia hates Japan. That's it. The uniting factor among all the other Asian nations, like Southeast Asia, Korea, China, is that they all collectively fucking hate Japan. That's their only real bond. Other than that, they all fucking hate each other. None of them like each other. So yeah, like when you see like the Asian Pacific Student Union and all that, it's like, come on, really? No, that's bullshit. Okay, let's see. Hell, give the Black chicks to us Mexicans. We'll fix them up. You ever seen a Hispanic mechanic? Dude can turn a Vespa into a pussy wagon. Imagine him turning a Shanae into a Mamacita. I think you have just found the next perfect sitcom, Anime Acid Trip. You make that a sitcom, get that on TV, I'd watch the shit out of that. I would be delighted to talk about with you via DM, private message in Discord about Kill Puff and Clip Thoth. Oh, Thoth. Okay, yeah. Hey, Ishii, is that the sniper from Gundam? Found Grandma. Well, okay. No, well, that's me essentially trying. What you're seeing here, let me explain. Let me do what I was going to do, and then I'll explain what this is all about. I have one little modification I want to make here. Yeah, I know you can barely see it, but matters to me. Okay, well, like I said, sometimes I just need to do artwork to clear my head because it uses a different part of my brain. And since that mercenary story about asshole mercs that drive mechs seems to be, it's rapidly completing. I've never written anything so fast. I'm thinking of possibly using this as a cover. But here's the thing. Yeah, it does resemble a Gundam. And that is because it was built on top of the base of a Gundam. And the challenge is to change it enough that I don't get my ass sued. And as you can see, if you look down in the legs here, I've thoroughly changed the legs to fit the story. As you notice, it's got wheels now, so that this guy can, the thing can essentially fold down onto its knees and become a wheeled vehicle and behave more like an armored troop support or IVF, armored infantry fighting vehicle, and go under freeway overpasses was the idea. Also, as you noticed in the chest here, the Gundam, I added headlights because naturally a military vehicle would have headlights. I put another sensor ball because the idea is that you've got a pilot and a gunner, and the pilot sees through the eye up here and through other sensors. And the idea is that the pilot, when he's plugged in, it essentially is his body. What the pilot sees and does, the body does. And so you have a gunner to handle everything else. And so I'm taking a sort of attack helicopter idea. So like in the chest here again, this is flat here. Well, on this, you've got a flare launcher, smoke grenades, and you've got this nice, lovely Gatling gun on a ball turret. And the idea is the gunner controls that. So as your mech is stomping around, you've got your gunner just mowing shit down in front of you, as well as handling the rocket pods on the hips. The pilot, on the other hand, the only two weapons also the gunner can fire the missiles. The only thing the pilot can fire are the weapons on the arms. And this is supposed to be the shotgun from hell. Its sole purpose is to be used at very close range. My thought was being in modern urban combat scenarios, one of the biggest problems is having guys duck out of windows with RPGs. That is one of the scariest fucking things to happen to a column of tanks or Humvees or even a low-flying helicopter, is for a dude to hang out of the window with an RPG. So if you have with your column of tanks a mech that has a shotgun, and that mech stands 2 stories tall, and all it has to do is point the shotgun in the general direction of the window and turn it into Swiss cheese, problem solved. The other weapon over here, although it looks like a Gatling gun, it is a laser, And the idea is it's a chemical laser so that it would fire one barrel, rotate, load up the chemicals needed, fire again, rotate, and each barrel cools in the process. Yeah, maybe I put way too much thought into a mech for a silly story, but that's what I designed. And again, hopefully I've changed this thing enough so that, Bandai doesn't sue my ass. I don't know. What do you think? I know you said communism has lost popularity in Japan, but there are coward politicians in Japan that are pushing for Asian solidarity with China, especially after Abe being killed. Yeah, and there's also a strong nationalist movement rising as well. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I believe technically communism is illegal in Japan. Laser designator and sight system. Exactly. Oh, yeah. So as I was saying, yeah, this ball here, the sensor ball is what the gunner sees through. Forgive me for sounding utterly stupid. Is this from one of your published stories? I want to read it now. Okay, what happened is I was trying a new technique because Boobs of Steel is killing my brain. It is so close to done, but I am suffering severe burnout. And so whenever I would hit burnout, I would just turn on the laptop and just, pulp speed, write whatever the hell came out of my head. Now, I had a vague story in mind to submit to the Battletech magazine for money. But the moment Battletech went woke, I was like, screw that. And I just started writing this story between breaks. And I've never written anything this quickly. It's amazing. And I'm hoping to have this out maybe in a month or two, hopefully, if all goes well. If I continue at the pace I am. Because I'd sit down and it's like, okay, I spent an hour and a half and I've got, 1,000 words in front of me. That's really good for me. So hopefully you'll be able to read it soon, and it'll probably come out before Boobs of Steel. Chemical laser, fire and forget. Well, I like the idea of the chemical laser because, you've got the problem with generating the energy where, for anyone who understands how a chemical laser works, you mix a bunch of very, very noxious chemicals together. It flashes really bright for like just a second or two. So intense that you can produce a very damaging laser. So I liked the idea of a laser where it actually ejects shells after it fires, and what it's ejecting are the shells full of noxious chemicals. I'm curious, Ishii. Your story makes me curious if you've done a mecha. If you've done a mecha them streams besides the Robotech one. No, actually I haven't. Other than my love of Robotech, no, I never have. I could. I know really what we should do one with Kat because Kat is a Gundam fanatic and she's built so many Gundam models. She has a death scythe on display in the living room under a bell jar. I have never seen Votoms, but I would like to. I like the designs of their mechs. Oh, and by the way, just for the hell of it, in this story I'm writing, because everyone's touchy about calling them mechs or a mecha or whatever. These are called siege engines. We just call them siege engines because they're used in urban siege environments. These mechs are primarily for urban use only. And they only stand 2 stories tall so that they can take cover behind things and take advantage of the landscape. Because if you think about it, a mech out in the middle of the desert is just a walking target. All right. Any others? It's interesting. I like the spinoff with the guy with a unique sniper rifle that uses to take out mechs. The concept of mech hunters is a very neat one too. All right, guys. I've been on for almost 2 hours. I'm kind of getting short of breath. Very quickly, before I end out the cast, for those of you who catch the reference on the kneecap, just had to put it there. Why the hell not, right? So, good hanging with you. I do not believe there's going to be a ladies' night tonight because Kat is getting set up for a convention. For those of you anywhere in the area, we're going to be at the Terror Trader Bazaar tomorrow and Sunday in, Mesa, Arizona. I'm sure Kat has all the information up on one of our sites. I'll get her to post it. Okay. Everybody have a good night. Bye.